She set us free. Sailor Venus! She's our 5th scout, you guys.
That's right, Sailor Scouts. The 5th Scout's here, and I'm her guardian, Artemis. Meet Sailor Venus. We're united at last. Looking sharp there, kitty cat.
You haven't changed.
Enough. We didn't come here just to put on some scout jamboree.
Too bad you're moon dust creeps.
Welcome back to MOONSTAR, a Sailor Moon podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex, and this week is a very special episode. Today we finally get to meet the mysterious 5th Sailor Scout, Sailor Venus, who they've really been doing a good job of building up in the show, I think, if you're going episode to episode. There's a lot of things that make her unique from the other sailors. Some of them are more obvious than others. Clearly, she's the only scout besides a moon scout who has a celestial feline guardian, hers being Artemis. She also was originally introduced to the world in the manga series, codenamed Sailor V, which she was the main character for, and this is still reflected in the anime a little by her character's history, which was largely contained in one episode that we know was cut from the original English dubbing of the show. Don't worry, we're going to cover that on a fan dub like we always do. Sailor Venus was actually ranked second favorite character among readers polled in 1992, and the reference I was looking at didn't state who the first one was. I tried to do some digging through there, and for some reason I just couldn't find the full list anywhere. So I would guess the first is Sailor Moon, but I don't know. If anyone can find the official list of the readers polled in 1992, comment it somewhere. I'd love to see it, and we'll share it with everybody here for sure. Also, Sailor Venus has one of the less obvious elemental affinities. This, I think, in part, from what I was reading, is because she started as Sailor V, but also I think it was, as we discussed later in the episode, part of the mystique of her possibly being the Moon Princess as well. Without much else to say, I just thought that some of that was interesting. I thought you guys would enjoy hearing that. But let's just jump into the show. I wrote this like hokey pokey segue, and I'm gonna deliver it, even though reading it now I'm like, oh, come on, me. But here you go. Let's take Route Venus to Chris and I's coverage of Sailor V Makes the Scene. See you on the other side. How was your week?
It was good. I didn't do any interviews on my own channel, but I was a guest co-host for another guy's channel, and I did 2 interviews for them. One of them was actually just this morning too, so that was fun.
Yeah, you told me. That's exciting. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, so the first one was on Wednesday, or this past Tuesday or Wednesday. It was with Mike Pollock, who is mainly known for being the voice of Dr. Eggman in the Sonic franchise. And then the one this morning was all about it was centered on a Netflix anime that came out last fall called Romantic Killer. It's a fun reverse harem romantic comedy. And it was with the 2 lead actresses, Deneen Melody and Courtney Lynn, and I had already interviewed them a year ago, like, just for their own careers. So it was fun to be back with them for that.
And when you got to do this kind of guest spot, does that mean he's just not there, so you're interviewing in place of him, or are you doing it together? No,
it's together, yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so it's like a full collaboration. When can people see that come out? You did 2. When's the first one coming out?
They're both up now because we did them live on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where can they find it?
Yeah, so they're on Super Raccoon Bros, like Super Mario Bros. It's just the word raccoon instead of Mario. It's all one word. And then the one from this morning is on his second channel called Super Raccoon Anime, and it's also all one word.
Nice. It's funny you bring up the Super Mario Brothers, and it's a cute name actually, because I'm seeing like a raccoon with a Mario hat for a logo.
Sure.
I don't know what it really is, but that would be cute. But I don't know. Do you follow Nintendo Direct and stuff?
Yeah, I watched that mainly because I was hoping for more Fire Emblem stuff that didn't get announced yet.
Something really special from my childhood came up. Can you possibly guess which one?
Yeah, I saw it was the remake of the RPG Maker Mario.
Ugh! Have you played that game?
Yeah, like really briefly.
Okay, for people who don't know what it is or who have not experienced it, Super Mario RPG back in the day was a Super Nintendo game made when it was still Squaresoft and Nintendo, and they I guess did a collaboration like what you're doing, and they made a very Final Fantasy but still with a lot of Super Mario aspects RPG game. And the playable characters were Mario, of course, Bowser, Princess Peach, and then Geno, who is this little doll that a star spirit comes down from like the sky and kind of goes into to help Mario. And then Malo is this cloud prince thing that when he gets upset, his emotions control the weather. And he like fell out of the sky and was raised by a frog. I love his story. And it's just the most charming game. It's one of the most charming RPGs there is. I love that they have... So there's like the Mario jumping like platformer aspects as you're exploring the world, but then it's still a turn-based battle system. And then within the battle system, you can hit buttons to time. Like if you hit it at the right time, it does combo attacks and critical hits and stuff like that. So it's more dependent on, I don't know, it's a really unique experience. And I was excited to see it come up, and then I saw it come across some of the other Sailor Moon YouTubers I follow. I think Sailor Peachy, I don't know if I'm getting it right, but she's one I follow because she did some Sailor Moon, another story playthroughs and stuff with reactions like Rhett's doing right now.
Yeah.
And she was freaking out about it, and I was basically watching her freak out about it because I hadn't seen it yet, and I was like, me too. That's how I feel. Because, do you know the lore about it?
No.
So the reason this is such a big deal is when, like, we wanted a sequel to it, and the Paper Mario games were the unofficial sequel series to the original Super Mario RPG, but the reason they're so different and don't include any of the, like, Final Fantasy characters the way the first one did is because there was, like, a falling out between the two companies, and then eventually Squaresoft became Square Enix, and the characters that were used in this game were sort of locked behind a weird corporate war. Like, they just wouldn't okay them to use the characters again. So, like, Geno and Malo, because they were shared, I guess, license or whatever it was, Nintendo just wasn't allowed to use them anymore. And it sucked because it was one of the best games they ever made. And then, to be honest, being a fan, it's kind of like watching... It's almost like being a kid watching two adults have the biggest baby fight, and you're like, why can't you figure this out? Do you know what I mean? It's like so weird. Anyway, this show is not about that game, but I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of our listeners are into that too. And that brings me to this question. Have you interviewed... I know you do a lot of Fire Emblem and stuff. That tends to be more like other... Like, I guess is that Nintendo technically?
No, it is, yeah. Fire Emblem is also, like, a Nintendo property.
Why did I think that was a Square Enix game? Okay, so you do Nintendo interviews then. That's kind of your realm. What from the upcoming Nintendo Direct are you interested in that regard?
I don't really... in this last one, I don't really think there was much. The Persona 3 remake is supposed to be on Switch as well. Not that I would, like... I don't buy any games anymore, but... since I love the Persona series, and that's my favorite Persona game, that's nice for people to be able to play it on there as well.
It is, and there's voice actors for that, or...
Yep.
Okay, so that might be an interesting thing. Okay, well, is there anything else? Oh, Pride. You're gonna do... What's your Pride plans this weekend? If you want to share them.
Yeah. It's just... I actually haven't done anything for Minneapolis Pride before, but it's always the second to last weekend of June, and it started today, but I didn't do anything today. Just been in the area at home. There's at the main gay club that I go to, the Saloon, they have a block party that I don't know how long it is, but they block off most of the street that it's on. And you have to buy tickets for it, but it goes all day. And tonight, Shea Coulee is performing.
I know her. I've seen her live a few times. She's actually very incredible live. I saw her shortly after her season when they were doing the world tours and stuff, and she had that song Cocky. And and me and my friend, and like, I don't know what it was, but I saw her do it live, and then every time I see her face, I just hear her going, cocky, like, because that's what she does in the song, and then it plays on a loop, and then I'm like, I can't look at her anymore. But yeah, no, she's fantastic. That's cool. That's a big name from the, that world. She won All-Stars. You know that, right? You probably knew that.
Yeah.
For Pride, for me, I told you I'm probably not doing much out in the town here. The weather's been pretty choppy here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I have a lot of editing to do. I have like 3 episodes of the show to edit and a video, so I'm probably gonna be doing that. And I'll just celebrate by doing it in a very gay way, because why not, right?
Yeah. Oh, one other thing.
Yeah.
I haven't announced this yet on anything. I don't think I will. But my 300th interview on Monday, and then my 301st the next day, are actually more cast members from the redub. It's Keith Silverstein, who is a huge modern name, but he does Dr. Tomo, and then my next one after that, Eric Kammerer, is Fisheye.
That's a big one for you. That's a really big one.
Yeah.
That's exciting for me too. Okay, well, you remember what I said about numbers, right?
Yeah.
Here are some interesting things. Today we're recording technically episode 33 of our first season because of the way I split things up. It is 6/23/23. And you're getting your first of the 300th interview of yours actually lands on my birthday, which is kind of funny.
Oh.
And then the next one being Fisheye is just perfect because it's like what a perfect one to start the next 100 with. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Thanks. Yeah, it's especially nice because I'm glad that I decided to pay $3 to message Keith on Cameo again because I just didn't think that he would. Because I talked to him for the first time about it like 2 years ago, and he said that he didn't really like doing interviews about himself.
Right.
And then I sent him another message like 6 months after that, or a year after that, and then he just saw it and didn't say anything. And then I tried again. I said that, I'm about to be on my 300th interview, and like I would like to have another big name for it ideally. And then he didn't say anything for 2 days, and all of a sudden he got back and agreed. So that was a really good surprise. And it was kind of the same thing with Eric. I had just normally emailed him because his direct email is like he has it displayed everywhere, and I never heard anything from him either. And then all of a sudden I did. So yeah, that same thing has happened several times with bigger name anime voice actors where I just didn't hear anything from them, emailing them directly or whatever the first time, and then the second or third time I suddenly did. So yeah, it just shows to, if you're doing this, then never stop trying. Just obviously stay polite, but like you can be persistent and polite at the same time.
Yeah, it's first of all, rule of threes, like the third time's the charm with that. You got that person on the third try.
Yeah.
Also, but persistence it's like it's interesting you bring that up because today's culture there's like mixed messaging going on with it, right? It's a quick snap to say you're harassing someone or not respecting a boundary, but like you put a lot of space between the time when you were messaging them. I think that's key. Yeah. And you had something going during that time period that was like consistently building and showing progress and showing that you were serious about the request you were making. Yeah. So like those two things combined make it not a bad thing if you reach out a couple of times, because I'm sure these people get how many thousands of emails from someone once.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, well, who's going to actually follow up, though? Because they're the ones that are a little more serious, and then who actually has something to show for it. So, yeah, you're right. I think persistence is key. Just make sure you approach it the right way and make sure you're ready to follow through. That's the other part. Right?
Yeah.
Because you have the experience now where you, like, if you book the interview, you probably don't even get nervous. You're like, cool, let's do it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Okay, so exciting news for you there. And that's a good note to jump in. We get an exciting addition to our team today. Are you ready to start?
Yep.
There's a bogus Sailor Moon on the scene today, stealing all my glory. Is she friend or foe? And when she finally shows her true colors, is it too late for Tuxedo Mask? Can the Sailor Scouts save him? We'll be right back, and I'll show you.
What is our title for this week?
It's similar to the one in English. It's Enter Venus, the Last Sailor Guardian.
We have Sailor V makes the scene. But correct me if I'm wrong, next week, is that the episode they cut with her going to England?
Oh, like Venus, like Minako's backstory?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that aired the first time.
No, I'm curious where it lands in the lineup on the episode list. I think it is the next one.
34, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Or no. 34 is the elevator and the silver crystal appearing.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I guess it would have been a little weird to just go bam, bam, and
immediately,
do two Venus episodes in a row. Yeah. Okay, good. That gives me a week to get the fan dub. This is available. We're starting a new VHS for this one, and it's called "And in This Corner, Sailor Venus," which is Volume 8 of the ADV release. You can also find this episode on the Buena Vista Pink Series tapes, Jupiter and Venus Arrive, or the ADV DVD release, Volume 5, introducing Sailor Venus. So it's like all variations of the same thing. And the VHS for this one is sort of interesting because this was at a lot of video rental stores along with a couple others. And I think I might have said this about one other one too, but as I'm, you know how I'm like collecting them and building sets and all of that. While I'm doing that, I'm noticing specific tapes, a lot of them come back with the like Blockbuster thing on it more than others. And it's like this one, Green-Eyed Monsters, Evil Eyes, and then the 3 movies, more than anything else, for some reason, were in all the rental stores. So I have a feeling a lot of people saw a lot of these episodes.
Yeah.
Pretty easily when I was younger, back in the day. So that's kind of an interesting point here. Do you remember the first time you saw this one?
It would have been... Honestly, it wouldn't have been until I rented the when Viz put out the DVD sets of each season, like, and split up into 2 box sets. So
you rented those?
Well, I rented the first 2 seasons, and back when I lived in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin library system had them, so I just rented those. Yeah.
Wisconsin library system better work. That's pretty good for a library. They had the full season sets. We had a few extraneous volumes at my library. So
yeah.
You know. Well, that's cool. How long after you had seen like the full, or like I guess like the later episodes, do you think you saw this one?
Well, it would have been a pretty big year gap. I don't know. Yeah.
But do you think you saw it before S or after?
Oh, definitely after, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, like what your order was.
Oh, yeah. I definitely saw all of S and Super S before I went back and saw the majority of season 1 and 2. I only saw like weird interjecting episodes of the first 2 seasons when I was younger in comparison.
Do you think it took anything out of your experience with it, having seen her like already by that point?
No, I just think back then I thought that the art style, or like the quality of the art difference, was obviously very noticeable. That was really the only thing that I like took away from it.
Okay. Well, who is our animator this week, speaking of?
It's the bad one, Masahiro Ando. But
yeah.
It's not like this episode doesn't look great, obviously, but it's not like horrible.
No, it's not. And there's some really iconic moments in it. And every now and then I would notice something and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I wonder who did it. And then it would go into another scene and it would kind of be like, I don't think it's Ito. You know, and then I'd be like, I don't think it's the other one. But no, yeah, it's fine. I think it's odd they didn't have one of them do this because it is a debut episode. But
I know.
What is the intro for it?
It's Queen Beryl watching a recap of Nephrite dying.
Yeah, and then she ends up having a conversation with Zoisite and Kunzite about something. What are they talking about here?
She's pissed off that he still doesn't have more of the crystals, and she says that he has one more chance, and Zoisite says it's because of Tuxedo Mask interjecting, and then Kunzite pops up and says that he'll also assist in this, and then Zoisite says to himself that he would risk his life for Kunzite, and then that's the scene.
We should be able to get those crystals back, no problem. I'll capture Sailor Moon and force Tuxedo Mask to exchange the crystals for her.
Do you really think you can manage that, Zoisite? She's outwitted you several times. And let's not forget, you still have her 3 sailor friends to contend with.
I know. I await your orders, my queen.
I would like to go with Zoisite Majesty.
Malachite, I'm honored.
Well, it's true the scouts have been a problem in the past, so I've revised our plan to trap them all and make Tuxedo Mask surrender his crystals for their safety. It's a daring plan and will take a lot of energy, but it will be worth it.
Very well. I'm putting you in charge then, Malachite. But I warn you, don't disappoint me.
We won't.
I want that Imperium silver crystal now. My patience is wearing thin. You bring the rainbow crystals back, you'll be well rewarded.
I remember when this happened, when I first saw it, I remember thinking Queen Beryl seems to be very, like, random when she suddenly decides she has no more patience for someone. Like, she's all on their side, but then, like, I remember thinking that as a kid, and then listening back to our coverage, I feel like we mentioned a few times, like, you can see her starting to get frustrated.
Yeah.
So I think it just seemed more sudden to me back then. But yeah, she's getting mad. And it's interesting because it's one of the first times we really have 2 generals looking out for each other rather than, gunning for one another. So it's kind of a nice difference with the 2 there. What, after this scene, is the strange thing that Luna sees on the news?
That some thugs were holding up a bank, and then quote-unquote Sailor Moon comes in and knocks out the bank robber and saves everybody, but Luna, it's obvious that it's not the real Sailor Moon.
Reach for the ceiling, people! This is a stick-up! Put all the money in this bag now, and don't any of you bank clerks try anything fancy! Yeah!
That's good advice.
Who are you? Where'd you come from?
I'm Sailor Moon, champion of justice!
Good news, folks. An attempted bank robbery was foiled today by that young superheroine named Sailor Moon. This brave young woman, who has become familiar by now, single-handedly unarmed the robber with a mighty karate kick.
Sailor Moon? Copy!
Yeah, and what does this, different Sailor Moon look like?
They have a naturally evil-looking face, and the color pattern of the ribbons and the skirt are darker. Like, the ribbon is purple, and then the skirt and the shoulders are a darker blue.
Mm-hmm. And what's her weapon here?
A boomerang.
I might be wrong. Did she have a Moon Tiara boomerang in the manga? Was it called that?
I wouldn't know.
I don't think so. I might maybe that was the Tune Makers one, or maybe I'm thinking of a weird fan creation at this. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, she has a boomerang, which to me, I used to play a lot of Zelda Ocarina of Time and stuff, and I immediately was like, boomerang. Thought of that, and I was having flashbacks to being in a giant fish. But yeah. I thought this was an interesting idea, something we haven't seen them do before. I don't know that they ever do it again.
No.
And I liked it because, to me as a kid, it wasn't immediately clear to me what they were doing. Does that make sense? I was like, I don't get their angle with this.
Yeah.
Did you get what they were trying to do right away?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, to be fair, you might have been older than me.
Older, yeah.
Also, you'd seen a lot more of it, so you had a better idea, probably. What happens after? So we see her, I guess, save the day with this robbery going on. What is the second thing we see this Sailor Moon person do?
Yeah, so after that, it cuts to Usagi and Makoto are walking around downtown, and they're both having crepes, and then it cuts in the same area to some window washers washing a skyscraper-type building, and it happens to be some kind of library that Mamoru is just outside of, and then some shards, like energy shards, get thrown and they cut the ropes holding the portable bench up, and the washers are hanging by a thread, so to speak, and then Sailor Moon, the fake Sailor Moon, comes in again and kind of like a Spider-Man type thing and saves both of them.
Sidebar: would you ever be a window washer if the salary was correct?
No.
Fuck no. Why do people do that? And
I know.
What the fuck? Like, that is one of the most insane actual jobs to me. And the fact that they're not all millionaires is, like, that's what you would have to pay me to get me to do that.
Huh? What's going on? They need help!
I can't hold on! Someone help!
This didn't happen by accident. Somebody sliced the rope.
What? Don't sweat it, folks. You're safe as long as I'm around.
That's not the Sailor Moon I know. I better see what's up.
There's something about this trope in TV shows that gets me every time, with the window washer hanging on, but they do it a lot. And it's the heights and everything, and even in an animated one, I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
When we first saw this happening, the audience is not supposed to know who cuts the ropes, but we can infer who made that happen.
It's actually the fake Sailor Moon.
Yeah, so they're setting up these scenarios to save them, is what we're seeing, which I feel like has been a movie or something. I don't know. Someone tell me if you know that movie. I thought it was kind of funny because then after they see this, Serena starts crying. What is she upset about?
Because they all see what happened too. And what does she say exactly? Oh no, so yeah, someone's using her name, and she can't believe that someone's doing that. Basically, yeah, she's like,
What's the deal? She can't be Sailor Moon. That's my job. She can't.
Serena, please quit your wailing! You have got your communicator, haven't you? We've got to call the others now.
I just thought it was cute. Very classic moment for her. Darian catches on to what's going on here too, and he starts following this different Sailor Moon, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And the girls also end up going after her. Where do they all end up? What's this location for the rest of the episode?
it's this industrial district it's in the same area that a lot of overseas shipments would come in for various things.
Yeah, I could tell it was some kind of like a boatyard or something, but
yeah.
I was like, I'm sure it's a specific place because they're good about doing that in this show. And I kind of thought it was a cool setting, although because we had the animator that we did, I don't think it popped as much as it could have.
Yeah.
And then I have here just an interesting note about Luna.
She swung down a rope and saved the guy?
No way, she's the real item. I mean, the Sailor Moon I know can barely swing a hammock.
Yeah, for sure. She'd get totally tangled up like some poor bug in a spider web.
Traitor! What we need to figure out is where she's coming from. Is she our friend or enemy?
Yeah, I guess you're right, Amy. Luna,
huh?
Could she be the 5th Sailor Scout?
You know, I've got no clue on this one.
Well, if she is the 5th Sailor Scout, no way that bogus showboating phony is stealing my name. I was Sailor Moon first, and it's gonna stay that way.
And if she's bogus, that girl's gonna pay. Someone's in trouble.
Let's run!
Because I noticed this when they were asking her like what she knew about the last scout, and she's like, I actually don't know that much. Well, she's like meant to be their mentor and kind of teacher. I think it's interesting that a lot of her memories are also locked, because if they weren't, she would have had to lie to them a lot to make the first season interesting. Yeah. And I think that would have ruined her character for me anyway. If I knew the whole time she like knew everything and was just full of it, I would have been like, screw you, Luna. So I just thought that was kind of cool. I don't know why. Did you ever notice that or think about that?
No, actually.
It makes me wonder what her first thoughts on Earth were, because she didn't know who any of them technically were. So she was just like, I must find the Moon Princess, but I have no idea what she looks like. Oh, well, here we go. Like, that would have been really a lot. I would have been like, Jesus. All right, anyway. Hold on, I have to turn the light on. It's getting dark. Okay, just another interesting point. This is the last time we get our full team transformation when it's only the 4 of them, right? Without Venus.
Yeah.
I want to find out who in the world that girl thinks she is.
She's right.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Let's go, Sailor Scouts. Moon Prism!
I did think the animation went, you know, when Sailor Moon is like hanging and there's all the lightning and stuff, I thought that part was animated well, and that's when I wrote, oh, who was the animator? And then the next scene I was like, oh, fine. Does she, in, you know, the little intro speech Sailor Moon does she reference that the imposter was like trying to take her place in the Japanese?
I think so.
Yeah, she does in the English one too. And it was cute because she's like, the original. And like I like the way Terry delivers that line.
You let that bogus Sailor Moon go this instant, do you hear me? I am Sailor Moon, the original champion of justice! On behalf of the moon, on behalf of Sailor Mercury, in the name of Mars, and for Jupiter also! We will right wrongs and triumph over evil slansters like you!
Most impressive, Sailor Scouts, and let me say it's a pleasure finally meeting all of you for the first and, let me assure you, very last time.
She has pretty good comedic timing, honestly. I think that's why she works so well. And who shows up here?
Kunzite. Well, yeah.
And what happens?
He pretty much uses the ability that he has to encapsulate them in a black barrier that gradually gets smaller and smaller, and it doesn't matter what kind of attack is used if somebody is within the barrier, because it just gets absorbed.
Yeah, and this is interesting because had Sailor Venus already been there, they would have been defeated.
Yeah.
So he is actually really strong, which makes him, I think it does make him it kind of elevates him above Zoisite. Like, we see that there is nothing really they can do against him. And we find out later the way they escape is more tactical than power, I guess. Mm-hmm. So when they have to continue to like face off with him, I think it kind of helps make him a more formidable opponent. How did you feel about this whole thing with the dome and all of that?
Yeah, it was a good introduction of his character to show that he's stronger than all the other generals that have appeared so far,
and maybe more ruthless and direct too, because he was straight up like, I'm gonna kill all of you right now.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are like, let's enchant some planes or something. You know what I mean? He's just like, nope, squish. So yeah, he's a lot more ruthless too. We see them try to break out. Obviously, as you said, it doesn't work. And eventually Imposter Moon is saved. Who saves her?
Mamoru. And then once they're in a more secluded part of the area nearby, he stabs Tuxedo Mask with that same shard, that like energy shard thing that cut down the window washers, and then it's revealed that it was just Zoocyte using his powers to disguise himself as the fake Sailor Moon.
I've got to find Sailor Moon. I know she's in danger. I can feel it. I may be too late. Better be careful, Tux. Somebody got her up there. Let's go! It's all right now. We're safe. You'll be okay.
Yeah. And I thought this was kind of fun because I feel like Tuxedo Mask knew, I can't remember if he directly says, but he had to know it wasn't really her to a degree. I mean, how many times have you saved her at this point? And then I like whenever they fight. How would you rate their interaction here compared to the other Tuxedo versus Zoocyte moments?
I mean, even though it's mostly one-sided, there is a more intriguing element to it. Like how Mamoru goes and hides in a little corner of sandbags, and then Zoocyte is just openly slashing everything leading up to it to make Mamoru come out. And yeah, it's more of a, even though it's not an equal fight, it's more of like a, I don't know, intense than the other ones were.
I like that part. I'm glad you mentioned it because I actually wanted to ask what those were. And it's like, yeah, duh, sandbags. I thought it might have been concrete for some reason, like unmixed bags of concrete. And I thought that was animated well. And it was kind of a cool, I don't know, it gave you more of a like feeling of being in the moment for him to think like, okay, so there's stuff crashing down around him. He probably knows she's going to find him by like, you know, if she keeps doing that or whatever. I thought that was a good way to do that. Oh yeah, and then we get the whole mask being blown away with the Blossom attack, revealing his true identity.
There you are!
Get away!
Surrender the crystal Zoi!
I know that face! But at last we know who Tuxedo Mask is.
Was it like this? Did Beryl see him, like see his face through her crystal ball in Japanese too?
Which one? Who?
Like in the English one, it shows Queen Beryl watching the fight and then seeing when his mask gets removed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because it looked funny, like they might have added that, like an edit over it or something. In the English one, I'm not sure. So yeah, it's revealed who he is, and then something happens here. What is it that interrupts their fight?
He thinks that he sees the silhouette of Venus standing in the little open area where the moonlight, I guess, is still coming in, or the lightning or whatever, and then when she looks back, she's gone, and then Mamoru has ran away.
Come on, just surrender.
I'll never surrender.
Fine, have it your way.
Venus! Crescent! V! Smash! Ah! My hand! Who's up there? Where'd you come from? Oh, just great. They both disappeared. No, this can't be. All the Sailor Scouts are in Malachite Malachite's dome. Oh!
Yeah, we actually get a crescent beam here too. It's just not the full thing, but technically this is the first use of Venus's crescent beam that we see, and it's used to hit Zoisite on the wrist, and in this moment. It's really brief, but it's kind of an interesting way to introduce her, where she has this like glimpse, but you don't get a total intro. And all the other, I don't know. I think they maybe did that because we don't get to see her awakening like we do with the other three. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she needed a little something. After this, we see Tuxedo hiding, like you mentioned, and he's listening to things going on with the scouts being trapped. And he replaces his mask, so he thinks, I don't know, he's hidden again. And like the scouts are about to lose, and then he steps out and he's like, "I'll give you my crystals," which is that happens a lot. They just want to hand over stuff to save people. Well, I mean, I guess what else are you going to do though at that point? And then we get what next?
Venus shows up more clearly this time, and then you see the animation of the crescent beam for the first time to hit Kunzite's hands, and then it makes them, obviously, after that, it makes the barrier go away.
I'm Sailor Venus, and if you're looking to make any trouble, here it comes right back at you. Venus! Crescent! Beam! Smash! She's broken the force field! How could she?
Yeah. And this is the first time we get the full thing of the crescent beam, or Venus crescent beam smash in Deke. Let's talk about that ability real quick for a second, a little. What is Venus's element or thing supposed to be technically?
I mean, all of the attacks in the series are like light based, but I know it's technically love too, so it's both.
Right. If you look it up, I think this is more evident in the manga because she gets the Wink Change Sword ability.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be love and actually metal, which is kind of interesting because metal is an element in other cultures. So is wood. That, like, if you know card captors, they have it as an element in there.
Yep.
The reason I'm bringing it up though is the crescent beam attack doesn't really have anything to do with love or metal.
No, it's just like a light beam. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think the idea was behind this?
I don't know. I mean, I've always just viewed it as a light beam attack. That's pretty much what I've always thought.
I mean, first of all, it's always been one of my favorites for some reason. But second of all, I think I finally figured it out when I was watching it. There's supposed to be this whole mystery about who is the Moon Princess, who is the leader. Is it possibly Venus, who is the Moon Princess? Her first ability being Crescent Beam and having it be a moon that first appears when she uses it kind of adds evidence to her being the Moon Princess. If you also combo that with her having Artemis, like Sailor Moon has Luna, so it would make her like one of the only other possible choices. And I actually think that's why. I think it has to be like part of that whole storyline where it's like they needed, I don't know, like if her first ability was just like Venus, super Venus-y Venus move that has nothing to do with the moon, everyone would be like, well, why do you think she's the Moon Princess? You know, what the heck? You know what I mean? So it has to be that, right?
Yeah.
If anyone knows, I don't know how you would know, if anyone's spoken to Naoko Takeuchi can confirm what the whole idea was, please reach out, or actually just tell us your thoughts. I would love to know, because I find this, I think about it a lot more than I think anyone should, so there you go. Okay, I'll promise we'll continue with the episode in a second, but since we have all the 5 scouts now, this is a good time to do it. We'll do the 4 inners. So Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. order their attacks in your order from like most favorite as number 1.
From their initial attacks?
Yeah, just the first 4 abilities.
Oh, okay. First would be Supreme Thunder, second would be Fire Soul, third would be Crescent Beam, I guess, and then fourth would be Bubble Spray.
I asked you and I'm not ready. It's such a hard question. You did it so fast.
That's because I'm more attached to the later attacks. So
fair enough. Tell me why you picked Supreme Thunder for your top 1.
I love the animation in it, and I love the build up and the chant that it has. Since none of the other first attacks have that, I guess just those 2 reasons.
That's a good reason. I like all 4 of them a lot. That's why I'm struggling, because they're all very unique in a way that I think, especially by the time we get to Super S, they kind of start to become more and more similar in a weird way, like with the black background and the formula and everything. They're all very close, but I'm going to go, my favorite is probably also Jupiter's for the same reason as you. It's hard not to choose that one because the full version of it is so impeccably well animated, and with the whole hair stuff coming up, it's so good. Mostly tied with first, but maybe 1 point under. I like the Mercury Bubbles attack next. Because I'm just really attached to that one for like nostalgic reasons, also utility. I love a utility ability, and it's like one of the only ones they have. So, and I like the idea that people see it as useless, because it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just really respond to that. Next would be Crescent Beam, and then Fire Soul. But Fire Soul is one of my favorite Mars abilities too. So
yeah.
I really like the way her hands like vibrate. Do you know what I mean? Like you can see they animated the tension and into her movement extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter, I call upon your powers. Help me defeat this monster and save the rainbow crystal. Jupiter, thunder!
Slime! Mercury Bubbles! Blast! Venus Crescent Beam Smash! Mars Fire! Ignite!
That's hard. You guys let us know your order for those 4 abilities in the comments. Let's see where you guys land. See, I remember we talked about doing this at one point, but I remember to do it. Okay. There's no way to transition into this. I wrote this line down because it's my favorite line from the episode. And it comes from Zoisite, and she says,
Enough! We didn't come here just to put on some scout jamboree.
Anytime someone says the word jamboree in anything, I'm immediately a fan. I love that word. It's one of the most ridiculous words in the world. And
you don't even hear it anymore.
You don't? And every time I hear it, for some reason, I see people dancing around a fire making a pot of rice. Like, I don't know why they have to be making rice. But, like, It's just, like, but I don't know. Oh, jambalaya, because it sounds like that.
That's what you're thinking of, yeah.
Yes, okay. But jamboree is the party. I know it's a party, so I guess I'm combining the two. But I love that word, and I love that it's in this this moment, because it's like, imagine if you were in a situation with someone that was just very heated. Because we all know how crazy the world is. Like, let's say you're in an open carry state and someone pulls out a gun on you at, like, the grocery store. And then they say something like, I didn't come here to deal with, like, a fairy jamboree, if they're, like, a homophobe or whatever. I would just laugh in their face. I'd be like, sir, can we just talk about the fact that you said jamboree? Like, anyway, we have to move on. But I loved that quote. What did she say in the Japanese here? Do you remember?
When Venus showed up?
Yeah.
I think it was just something nondescript, like, oh, who are you? Like, we weren't expecting, like, we don't know who this is or whatever, before Beryl interrupted them.
Yeah, I have to say, I support the choice of saying jamboree over that all day. Sailor Venus immediately, to me, seems somehow apart from the rest of them. I think I mentioned this before. She feels stronger for some reason. Probably because she has Artemis, but also they sort of do a good job of, like, talking her up, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, before she arrives and everything. And then there's the whole mystique of her possibly being the Moon Princess. I think it's unfortunate that you had already seen the later seasons by the time you saw this.
I know.
Are you able to separate yourself from stuff in a way when you watch it where you can kind of still go there with it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because I can do that too. This is a unique time in Sailor Moon where we have our 5 inners, but they don't know their full history yet.
Yeah.
And it only really lasts for, like, a chunk of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any... I can't, actually. There's, like, one other comparable time to this. Do you know what it is in another season?
You have to say it, I guess.
In Sailor Moon R, when, like, they're returning their memories.
Oh, that's right.
Right in the beginning.
Yep.
That would be the only other time that we have, like, a similar setup to what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. What did we... There's, like, some... I want to talk about some of the, like, shots at the end here, because they're really nice. But did we miss any of the story?
The only big thing that we didn't mention was Beryl having a interesting reaction to seeing Mamoru's face, and then when she appears to tell Kunzite and Zoisite that plans have changed and to come back right away, because she recognizes... It's revealed, like, later that she recognizes Mamoru as King Endymion, or Prince Endymion.
We didn't come here just to put on some scout jamboree.
Too bad you're moon dust, creeps!
Malachite, Zoisite, return at once!
We don't have the crystals! Queen Beryl.
I know that, but it's too risky. Let them be! Return now!
We can win!
Zoisite, never question me!
We'd better hit it.
We're in for an earful.
You got lucky, but everybody's luck runs out sometime.
Right. And then there's that moment where Zoisite is like, but we can defeat them, and she gets mad, and she's like, never question me again. Does that happen?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay. I think that's interesting. Beryl, I know why she reacted the way she did to him. We don't know as an audience at this point if we're going in order. Do you know why she has such a strong interest?
No.
It's something that's covered in Sailor Moon Another Story, actually. When you go to the past, you can talk with Queen Beryl. I might have mentioned it before. But the Earth Kingdom, which was located in the game at D North Point, which is where they end up fighting her in the show.
Yeah.
She would, like, watch the moon and stuff, and she had a crush, or she was in love with, I guess, Prince Darien way back in the day. And she was, like, too shy to say anything or something like that. I would have to go back and double check the dialogue and everything. And, you know, it's been, like, translated by fans and stuff. But the gist of it was, like, it was sort of a love story where she wanted him, but she never told him, or he wasn't interested, one of the two. she became obsessed with like jealousy over what she couldn't have, and that's kind of like how Queen Metalia, I guess, found her right? Like, and turned her into what she ends up becoming, and why she ends up attacking the moon and all that. It's really interesting, and you get to play through it, and you get to play through the past where the moon gets attacked.
Yeah.
It's cool. So yeah, if people are interested in that, Rhett's playing that game right now, actually. You guys will meet him soon, and you can go check it out. But yeah, so I know that is her backstory. I don't think they reveal that in the show, though, do they?
I don't think so.
I know they do something with her story at the end, but it came off to me from what I'm remembering as more like she was just interested in him in the present time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like gets mad that she can't brainwash him into
Yeah.
We'll get there. I had a couple of other points here about Artemis's voice actor. Do you know who did his voice for these first episodes he was in?
It wasn't Ron Rubin.
It was not. I'm on the dub one. It says Ron Rubin here, but I don't know if that's accurate. You said it's not him.
Well, no, I mean it says the same thing on the. So I've never heard anything about him not having. I never heard anything about Artemis having a different voice actor initially.
I swear it changes, but it might have changed with CWI. I don't know.
No.
Maybe he just developed his voice over time.
Probably.
But in the first episode, to me, it sounds like he's trying to suppress a really strong Southern accent, or something about the way he was talking would sort of swing into Southern, like every now and then. I don't mind that. I just thought that was a cool point.
That's right, Sailor Scouts. The 5th Scout's here, and I'm her guardian, Artemis. Meet Sailor Venus. We're united at last. Looking sharp there, kitty cat.
You haven't changed.
Enough.
And then we get this like really iconic shot of Venus right at the end with the crescent moon behind her.
The watercolor, yeah.
Yeah, and it does that like art within art thing again.
Yep.
That, we like here. Do you want to add anything about the episode artistically or anything specific?
No, just that I'm glad that it ended the way it did on that frame, because I always love when I love an older anime when in terms of production artwork, whenever something shifts into that still frame watercolor image, that's called a harmony cell. I don't know why it's called harmony, but that's the terminology for it, and I just always I miss seeing that in non-traditionally drawn anime nowadays.
I don't know exactly why they call it that, but to me, because I'm a musician, I would have to guess. Harmony is kind of what adds the warmth or the color to a song.
Okay.
And I feel like that style specifically invokes a really warm feeling. You know what I mean?
That makes sense, yeah.
It's a very cozy style of art. Maybe that's why. I love every time they do that. I need to make a collection of those frames or something. That would be cool to look at all together. All right, let's rate this episode.
I'd give it like a 3.5, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going through it all in my head again. I want to be fair. I think I would give it a 2.5, honestly. Tell me what your rating is based on.
I liked the concept and the plot of the episode about in regard to how Kunzite and Zoocyte get back, and Minako's introduction was fine enough. I would have probably even given it maybe half a point higher if it was a better animator. Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I mean, it kind of had a weird pacing. That was my only complaint, and besides the animation quality, but besides that, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible, but when I'm comparing it to an episode, I give 5 stars too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My issues with it were, like you said, the pacing. The animation moments, the reason it bothered me so much is because every time I would get really excited about a great moment, it would and this quality would immediately jump down, And it might be because I'm paying attention to it more because of the show. but that is starting every now and then to like detract a little bit. If I notice like that would have been so much better if it was someone else. Do you know what I mean? So I'm having a little bit of that with it. I'm especially bummed that they didn't make a better choice on the animator, again, like I said earlier, for a Sailor Scouts debut episode. I thought that was a real wah-wah.
Yeah.
Because it, especially with Jupiter's debut episode being so strong, to have all this build up, and then Venus's episode comes in at a strong, like, middle. That's kind of where I'm at with it, too. And I also thought for it being an episode that introduces a new scout, it focused on her very little.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we're watching the Deke version, we don't get her backstory episode, so it's even less. It's like it's even more sparse. And then one more point of interest, I don't actually know. Does she transform in her backstory episode?
I'll have to see it again.
I have only seen it like once, so I don't know. But if she does, then she transforms twice in the Japanese and the original version. The only other transformation she does is in, like the solo one anyway, is in the hair cutting episode. And I remember that bothered me because there's no like good audio of her doing a regular Venus power because she's like injured in that episode, so it sounds weird.
Yeah,
I don't know, just like a random thing I noticed over the years from like digging through the footage. All right, Sailor says,
I love to eat.
But it's important to eat well if you want to be strong like me.
Right. Pass up all the junk food for fruits and vegetables. It gives you more staying power. And drink lots of water. Not only those carbonated drinks with too much sugar in them.
And make sure you get plenty of exercise. Your doctor or gym teacher can tell you what's best for you.
You want to be like us? Stay fit and healthy. Right.
This is a pretty straightforward one. It's something that was in a lot of kids' shows at the time, probably still is. Eat a healthy diet, stop drinking soda, get plenty of exercises, or get plenty of exercise. Then they go like, your doctor or gym teacher can tell you what's best for you. And then it's like, want to stay like us, stay fit and healthy. We I think can agree on this, right?
Yeah.
I guess. I want to touch on it a little more than that. I will say this. I'm someone who struggled with my weight a lot. I've been up and down quite a lot in my life, heavy and thin. And something that I have settled on, and it's like something that a lot of other people settled on too, and I'm going to say it the way Kathy Griffin said it, because that's my favorite way, but it sucks, like after trying everything in the world, it absolutely sucks that the answer is diet and exercise. Because that's all it is. That's like literally, unless you're trying to go get some kind of huge invasive surgery, if you want an actual lasting change, that's the answer.
Yeah.
And it's boring and it sucks. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason I say it like that is like, I can't tell you how much when you're heavy, hearing someone who's in shape talking about exercising makes you want to like slap them. Do you know what I mean? Because it's harder. It's just harder when you're heavier. You know what I mean? To actually get the ball rolling, in literally to get yourself moving. You're carrying more weight on your frame.
Yeah. So
I completely understand why it's such a challenge. And I think a simplistic message like this gets probably ignored a lot because it's like overly simplified. I don't want to assume, but I would guess that you're someone who hasn't had to like think about your weight too much.
No, I've been the same size like all my life.
And I think a lot of people who have struggled with being overweight might hear something like that and want to be like, must be nice. But I'm here to say I know a lot of people who are naturally thin, and they have certain frustrations, like they cannot seem to bulk up when they want to. They'll like try desperately to gain weight and they just can't. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that, or if you've always just kind of been like kind of chill with yourself. But what's been your experience like in that way?
Can you say it again?
I guess like, do you find that there are certain insecurities that come with being naturally thin that you experience that other people might not consider?
Oh, yeah. Not really so much now, but when I was in middle school, like my early middle school years, I would get bullied a little bit. Not a lot, but one of the things I'd get bullied about, or people would say, would be that that I was anorexic, even though being like between 110 and 125 pounds when you're 5'7" is totally normal and like it's a healthy weight. So that's the only thing I've ever faced about it. Nowadays, I don't ever get shamed for it or anything like that. So
I would hope not. Everyone gets picked on for something.
Yeah.
When that was going on, though, do you think it affected your relationship with food at all?
No.
I think that's fantastic. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of people end up with all kinds of eating disorders because there's anorexia, there's overeating, there's binging and purging. There's actually a lot of different things that can go on. And I guess to give this a more useful message, Overeaters Anonymous is a thing that exists. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
For people who haven't, OA or Overeaters Anonymous, it's similar to like other anonymous 12-step programs, but it's for people who struggle with their relationship with food. I guess specifically for overeating, but I think it's a little encompassing. Like I think all eating disorders can attend. I'm not sure. But that is something, again, I heard about through Kathy Griffin, because she actually talks in her biography or her memoir about starting to attend Overeaters Anonymous after going through extremely dangerous liposuction surgery in the 90s that almost killed her. And if you want that story, it's in her book. It's wildly fascinating. I highly recommend it. But I just think it's an important thing that people know that it's think about it like this, because food can be an addiction. If you're trying to quit alcohol, you can just get rid of it, right? Or whatever substance. You cannot just stop eating. Like, you have to continue to have a relationship with your substance that is causing a problem. And I think that's why people's relationships with food can be so complicated and challenging. Do you have any advice for anyone who, and this is not actually going to be about getting thin or getting healthy, but what would you tell someone who wants to just get to a better place with their own body as far as like their personal relationship with themselves?
I guess this isn't just if you're gay and if you're younger, but I would say that if you're encountering people from a romantic standpoint or a potential romantic standpoint that like are genuine and telling you that they think that you're really attractive and you're not comfortable with your own body, then I would just, even though it's nerve-wracking, or if it can be nerve-wracking or anxious, I would just embrace it. And even though it might seem frightening at first, in most cases I think it'll end up being a good decision.
I think that's good advice, because it is kind of there. What you just touched on, it's kind of scary at first to have self-confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, I mean, at least for me, it's like it gets comfortable fast.
Yes, it does. I agree with that. But when you first start, I think the reason it's so tough is because there's a lot of, again, mixed messaging in society where it's like, body positivity, be confident, be you for you. You should believe in yourself. But if you believe in yourself too much, you're a narcissist. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like that in and of itself is a little weird. And then when you start being like, okay, well, maybe I do like my hair or my whatever it is you're trying to like, there's gonna be that societal like voice that has been pushed into you telling you, oh, you can't like that about yourself. That makes you conceited. That makes you a narcissist. That makes you a bad person. And I'm here to tell you that that is garbage. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Like, I can't, it's like, it's this weird backwards messaging that is left over from previous generations, because I've heard other people reference these times, and it was like, especially in female culture, the worst thing another girl could call you was conceited for a very long time. And that kind of, I think, was sort of the mainstream thing too. Like, no one wanted to be considered conceited. And there's been a big shift in the opposite direction lately. It's just kind of a messy time because we're still in the middle of transitioning.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We gave you a few big things to, like, roll around in your head from This Sailor Says. Want to add anything about it?
Just from I don't think I mentioned this before, but most guys that I go for, I would say 90% of guys that I go for and have gotten intimate with and just pursue in general, whatever, are thicker than me in some way. The only actual boyfriend I've had so far was nearly 6 feet tall and like 350 pounds. So, I don't discriminate at all in that way. And I think that unless it's like, I know it's like it can be a hard deal breaker for some people, but I would just be open about it. If you're like intentionally into gaining weight, like as a kink, I'm not into that at all. I think a lot of people aren't, obviously, but I've just always been more appreciative and like attracted to guys that have thicker bodies.
Listen, I'm right there with you. I will say I've experienced all types of people. And to me, it's more like about a vibe almost. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get that.
I've had great experiences with very, very like thick, heavy men. And I've had great experiences with very, very thin men who probably got made fun of in the same way you did. And terrible experiences with both as well. And that's another thing that I think is I hope more people talk about this, but a lot of people's interests are a lot broader than you would initially assume when you first see them. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think when you're coming from a place of insecurity, it's common to naturally assume someone who looks a specific way might, quote, never be interested in you. And then you might take that feeling and then allow yourself to treat them a certain way based on something that you never even spoke to them about.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen the movie Easy A?
Yeah.
I always come back to that scene with the kid and with Emma Stone when, for people who don't know, she's basically like... it's like prostitution light. Like, I don't know what to call it. It's like she's not sleeping with these guys. She's like faking sleeping with them to make them popular. And this heavier set guy on the swim team comes up to her and kind of like is a little bit rude when he's trying to get her to do the fake thing with him. And at the end of their interaction, she's like, you know, if you would have just come up and talked to me like a normal person, I might have actually just gone out with you. Mm-hmm. And I think about that a lot because I feel like that's really true in a lot of cases. Like, we build people up to be worse than they are in our brains before we even speak to them sometimes, you know? Mm-hmm. And what use is that? So, let's see. That's it for this episode. Do you have anything you want to add at the end here for any upcoming stuff? It's exciting.
Well, I'll just mention more of the roles that the 2 interviews I'm doing are, because people will probably know if they're anime fans. So my 300th, Keith Silverstein is also known, besides Dr. Tomo in the redub, he's also Zhongli in Genshin Impact, Hisoka in Hunter x Hunter, Johan in Monster, Coyote Stark in Bleach, Saber in Fire Emblem, and a ton of other things. And then Eric Chimera, besides Fisheye, he's known for Ryuji, the protagonist, in Toradora, Sonic in One Punch Man. I don't remember the name of the character, but the lead in Asterisk War, the lead in Nagatoro, and he's probably most famously Iguro, the Snake Pillar, or Snake Hashira in Demon Slayer. So I'll have both of those. Keith is at noon on Monday, and then Eric is at 1 on Tuesday. So, and I'll have them up the same day, most likely, like I always do with my interviews.
So you guys have 2 big interviews to look forward to this week. If you're following Chris on his YouTube channel, tell them how to find you again.
It's just all under my name, Chris Mayek, Mayek.
Yep. And we have his descriptions at the end of every episode too, in the outro, so you guys should know how to find him. I hope those go well. I'm sure you're prepared already, right?
Yeah, and the one with Keith is only supposed to be a half hour, so, but even if things are shorter, I always approach them in the same way anyway.
Keith is the Viz fisheye, right?
Eric is fisheye.
Eric, yeah.
Yeah, they're both Viz, yeah.
I'm so curious. You're gonna ask him, I'm assuming you would, if he had seen the original portrayal, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, what the experience was like voicing a character who had their gender changed in the past, and like if that had any even like influence on him at all, or if he thought about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, good luck with those. Congratulations on hitting your 300 mark this month. We kind of knew that was coming, so
thanks.
Everybody let him know a big congratulations in the comments, and I guess that's it. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
It's been a jamboree. All right, bye.
Well, Luna, sure been a long time. Pretty sight, huh? I can't tell you how happy we are to finally be joined up with you guys.
Sailor Venus! I can't believe this! Really?
It's great to be here.
Oh, are you the moon princess we're looking for?
I don't know.
That's it for today's episode of MOONSTAR, a Sailor Moon podcast. Can you believe it's been over a year since we started the show and we're just now meeting Sailor Venus? Like, come on. I kind of like that though, because I've probably said this before, but I think the waiting and the uncertainty of sometimes when episodes are going to drop, today's a little late, sorry about it, it sort of makes it a little more real to the time period. No, they were not randomly delayed, like if it was supposed to be on a certain day, it was on the TV, but there were these huge gaps during spring breaks, or not spring break, but like winter break and summer break and all of these things. And then we had to wait for them to actually decide to continue dubbing the show and all of that. So yeah, I like that it is not something that happened instantaneously. At least not for us as we're making the show, or the listeners who have been with us from the beginning. Something that I think is kind of interesting though is we're at the point where the show's been out for a while now. There are so many episodes, and whenever, like I've said, we get a new listener, I can see when someone does a binge and goes back and listens to the whole catalog. And I just find it so funny because they are experiencing something that was so long ago for Chris and I already. Now, like yesterday, like today, like there's probably someone listening to one of the first episodes right now. And for some reason, I don't know why, but that just kind of like, I just think that's really cool. I don't have anything fancy to say about it. I just really like it, and I think it's neat that the people who found us early on, and we're still early in the show. We've got several seasons to cover. Like, so even those of you who are finding us now, you're gonna all have your own unique experience coming through this with us on the way. And then there's going to be people who find it much later, and their experience is going to be they can binge the show with us, and like after they watch the episode they can go listen to what we said about it and just go all the way through, which is what I have. It's like kind of the long-term intention of the show is to be a companion like that. And I don't know, I had a birthday recently, so I've been reflecting over the past year, you know, and it's really been fantastic. I can't think of a better year that I've had in a very long time, and it's largely in thanks to the show. So, and thanks to all of you guys for being incredibly supportive listeners. So I appreciate you so much, you know that. But yeah, I don't know. I just had to take a moment and share some of how I'm feeling with you guys about the state of where we are. because it felt like a special episode, so why not, right? It's a special time. Serena's birthday is a few days away and close to mine. I don't know. I think I'll leave that conversation there. Oh, jeez, I probably should have done this first, but I have to take a moment and correct a very large mistake I made during my rating of this episode. I forgot to take into account the most important moment from the Deeks dub, which is Zoisite's incredible Scout Jamboree line. That is enough for me to give this a full bonus star just based on that alone. So it's going to take my rating up from a 2.5 to a 3.5. I know that's controversial, but like there's not much I can do about it when the word jamboree is involved. I'm sure you can understand. So, I mean, if you have a problem with it, take it up with Zoisite, I guess. I don't know. And then I got to remind you about these projects we got going on. So, auditions for Sailor Moon Another Story, the series, are still rolling. Several of the main characters are still available. Please check us out on Casting Call Club. Just search for the project by the title, Sailor Moon Another Story, the series. Additionally, Project Gaiden Card is casting voice actors for a series of tutorial videos that are going to be released alongside the Sailor Moon collectible card game 2023 Revival, which is being put together with a 2-person team at the moment, that being myself and Daniel Price of the Sailor Moon forums. He's an artist and animator, and he's incredibly talented, so I hope you guys will check out that project and submit your auditions to help give some, or bring some life to the videos we're going to make, you know, to share with all of you guys. Just a couple of things to let you know, you've probably heard rumblings about it, but the Pride special is going to be dropped on June 30th, and we will cover in the special itself why we chose that date other than it being Sailor Moon's birthday. And additionally, the first ever MOONSTAR Spotlight is going to be released very soon. The exact date is to be announced. I might do a 4th of July drop on that. I like that it would, like, you know, the whole Independence Day thing. I don't know. I'll have to see. But it's coming soon, so you can look forward to that. And as you can hear by the song selection here, I'm all about this
Super Mario RPG
Switch, I don't know, glow up remake. It's like the same game, but like better graphics. I don't know what they're doing exactly with it, but I'm so happy. I can't even begin to tell you because of what I described on the show today. And we had very, very long ago, the entire fandom who loved that game had settled into and accepted the idea that because of the issues between the two companies, we were never, ever going to get something like this. There was never going to be a sequel. There was never going to be a port or whatever. I don't know the legalities or what happened that allowed for this remake, port, whatever is going on to happen. But I'm hoping that it also opened the door to official sequels to this game, because that would be the ultimate reward. Like, getting this is enough for me. Like, honestly, if they don't do an official sequel, I'm still so happy with this. But it just feels like it opens the door to so many additional possibilities. Official soundtrack releases, you never know. Like, just all kinds of interesting things could come from this. So, if you are someone else who loves Super Mario RPG as much as I do, please go off in the comments. I really want to see you guys just like have a ball over it, because honestly, second to when Sailor Moon got its first, like the Sailor Moon Crystal Revival was so freaking exciting on a very similar level. You know what I mean? I gotta say, that's probably the last time I felt this excited about new anything coming out in a very long time. So, yeah. If you haven't seen it, even if you're not like a Mario fan, if you just like RPGs, I promise you will love this game. Go watch the Nintendo Direct. If you have access to the original game, it's for Super Nintendo. Highly recommend it. Please go play it. There's no reason to wait till November. I mean, it looks like it's going to be basically the same. So, yeah, I'm so excited. All right, we got to end the show for real. Plugs. As always, MOONSTAR Sailor Moon podcast is brought to you in part by Sailor Moon Video. Want to shop authentic Sailor Moon VHS and DVD collectible items directly from the 90s? Go to www.sailormoonvideo.com and use the special offer code MOONSTAR for 15% off your purchase. You can find more of Chris on YouTube and Instagram at Chris Mayek, ChrisMayek. You can find more of Alex, that's me, on Instagram at Alex Summers, SFE. Or you can, and the best way to do that, to keep in touch with me, I guess, is to follow the MOONSTAR socials. So that would be MOONSTAR Sailor Moon Podcast on Facebook, or the Sailor Moon Video YouTube page, which is where MOONSTAR is hosted on YouTube. So if you don't listen to us on the direct feed, I know a lot of our listenership is over on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. Hey to YouTube. MOONSTAR Sailor Moon Podcast is created for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. We do not claim any ownership over the licensed or copyrighted material used during the creation of this show. All licensed and copyrighted music, sound effects, and clips used during the creation of MOONSTAR Sailor Moon Podcast belong expressly to the license and copyright holders.
Dark energy electrify! That ought to shut you up for a while.
He's not getting away with this! Mars fire! Oh! What happened? It didn't work, did it?
Not even close, Sailor Brat.
Oh!
I'll stop him!
Give it a try.
Jupiter! Thunder!
Not even a dent! We're in real trouble!
Slow learners, aren't you girls? Your measly powers are no match for the Negaverse. No sense in wasting so much energy. Dark energy, shrink to fit.
I'm here, guys!
Where'd she come from?
I'm Sailor Venus, and if you're looking to make any trouble, here it comes right back at you.